Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Intimate Talks interview series. I'm Asi Efros, and our special guest today is Sharleen Ernster, a former EVP at Victoria's Secret and the founder of a sustainable lingerie brand, We Are HAH. Hi, Sharleen. So
Hi.
nice to have you with
Hello.
us today.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me. I love all of your work and always happy to speak to people in the industry about what we're passionate about.
Absolutely, I'm the same way. Yeah, exactly. Um, and thank you so much for your kind words. And I'm actually love your work because I saw we all saw Victoria's Secret from the outside as the admirers and customers. And I guess I would like to know the inside scoop. How was that to be an EVP of Victoria's Secret in its heydays? Good and
Yeah, I
bad.
mean, it was honestly, I feel really blessed. It was the golden years of Victoria's Secret, and it was an incredible team. And I always say that Victoria's Secret, from my retail experience across the past almost 3 decades, that Victoria's Secret's like the Ivy League of retailers, and it's really respectful, and things are done very business and strategic, and the partnerships are really strong, and it's just an incredible place to work, especially in those years. And we were at the height of VS. I was there for 13 years and was executive vice president of design for everything that was provocative in the business. So anything that was like sexy or provocative, very sexy, miraculous, all of those key brands, as well as swimwear and some apparel. And I really experienced kind of perfection around, I would say, about two things. One was the exposure and education. So working there, being an Ivy League, as I said, you really had exposure to the entire supply chain. And I'm a bit of a geek of a designer in the supply sector. So that I really respond to the making of the raw materials, et cetera. But we had a front row seat with all of our vendors, from fabric mills to factories to trims to printers. And we had this once a year, we would kind of go around the world and spend about 2 weeks in region. And our factories would prepare for this. And they would show us everything in their product pipeline. They would show us, like, it was almost like a Shark Tank for the vendors were trying to like bring Victoria's Secret the best in technology. So it was everything from like pad construction to elasticity to printing techniques. And what you find about these manufacturers and these experts is they're also trying to make things that are respectful to the planet. And they're really, because it's their backyard, it's their livelihood, it's their kids, it's their factories, it's their environment. And they always had this incredible cutting edge technology. So I was like a sponge with all of that. And it gave me an education and relationships with all of these outstanding supporting vendors.
Mhm.
And the other thing about it was that Victoria's Secret really fostered this competitive, I would say it was a healthy competition around trying to start new businesses. So it was one thing to make sure you grew your business like the very sexy and miraculous and dream angels. And I was responsible for growing all of those, but the culture was really like, what can we do next? And so I started all of these sub brands. It was the beginning of my entrepreneurial self, was starting ideas, whether it was shapewear or hosiery or black label designer lingerie or swimwear, which I took from over almost 10 years, from a small under $100 million business to almost $1 billion. So I had this ability to kind of bring an idea to the table, start it from scratch, brand it, sub brand it, and bring it to market. And that was like incredible. So the experience of being at Victoria's Secret was massive. And I would say the other thing that was really affected me was the impact. So the company is just so big. And, I could go anywhere in the world and anything. I couldn't go through customs without them seeing like, where do you work? And I'd be Victoria's Secret. And there'd just be women coming, oh my God, I'm wearing this right now. It's like, I can't tell you how many people around the world were like pulling up their panties or like, I love your bra. And it's so crazy how many people wear it. And swimwear, after in the late aughts and early teens, I couldn't go to a beach anywhere in the world or a pool in Vegas or anywhere without half of the women of any age wearing Victoria's Secret, which is just mind blowing. So this impact was so massive there. And it was really special to feel like what I was making was affecting so many people across the supply chain and just consumers. So
Mm.
it was pretty special. I would say the only frustration that I had there, and the reason I left Victoria's Secret to head to Guess as chief design officer was there was it was definitely through a male gaze, even though 95% of the people making the product and merchandising it were women. We had all of these ideas to bring to market, which just weren't being heard, whether it was unlined, non-push-up bras, where it was comfort, no wire, if it was shapewear. And if the founding team and those who were projecting the marketing didn't agree with that, they were really turned away. And that was frustrating as a woman because by the end of my 13 years there, I was not wearing as much of our product as I was at the beginning because it no longer was attuned to what I wanted as a woman. So I think that was the only frustrating thing that ended up ultimately being kind of a crossroads for the brand and still is today.
Yeah, yeah. We
So,
all watched the very painful transition of the brand into everything it should be and have not been.
right, right.
So I think it's still going on.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's hard to change a legacy brand like that, but
yeah,
yeah, and find your way. So, but it was an
absolutely.
amazing time there. Amazing.
Hmm. Yeah, and well, me too. I mean, who didn't wear Victoria's Secret?
Yeah,
Really, different items. Maybe not a push-up bra was never my thing, but
me
definitely
either.
other items. Um, and just even walking into Victoria's Secret store, it had definitely its own ambiance and fragrance
Right.
and the music, and it was just always
Yes.
packed to the brim.
Yes. And it had attainable luxury. Like it wasn't inexpensive, but the product was really well made and really well thought out. And you could get, 3 for 30 panties, 5 for 25. Like people could afford it, which I think is really important, as part of what went into the thesis of my brand as well when I started it. But I think it's important to be attainable and to bring that kind of quality in mass because everybody should be comfortable in their undies and bras.
Absolutely. And I still remember the flagship store on the 34th Street that had at some point a vintage vignettes of
Yes.
amazing lingerie pieces,
Yes, that was incredible.
silk and lace,
Yeah, that was an
amazing.
incredible installation, and I know the manufacturing team that helped bring that to life, and they ended up being my anchor manufacturer when I started my own brand. But
Mhm.
and I think that was what was still um, exciting about the brand in that in the aughts before they passed like 2011, which I think they started to get stagnant, but was that there was this exploration and there was just excitement and risk taking and beauty. And it was so much more eclectic and authentic. And then somewhere around 2009, 10, it just really hit a wall. And that was very frustrating. And that kind of coincided with um, really where I started to get frustrated by the lack of product for me at the time,
Mhm.
and also where the seed was kind of planted in my head for what would become We Are HAH.
Mhm.
And I think that my what I call since I started HAH, what I call my aha moment, HAH, was really around the birth of my two daughters. And I had my daughters in my late 30s, and they were back to back. So, and I was an EVP at Victoria's Secret. I was traveling the world. I was wearing our swimwear. I was wearing our bras and undies. And my aha moment was that there was so much wrong with the fit and the convertibility and the then waste of product because my body changed radically for 36 months, my body went like from a size 2 to, an 8. My breasts went from 9 sizes up and back down again and then back again. And I just experienced this whole part of a woman's body that we did not offer product for. And it wasn't just like, oh, maternity, we don't have that. We knew that. I knew that before I, got pregnant myself, but it was really this idea that nothing fit. And it was creating monstrous waste in my own closet. And so all these bras, and I was able to buy them at my discount because I was an employee. And so I just was thinking about every other woman in the world and how many bras she has to buy while she's pregnant and then breastfeeding and then how nothing fits. And I was
Mhm.
tying my swimwear because it had these clasps on it. So I had my beautiful Victoria's Secret swimwear, but I was butterfly tying it with these plastic ends like sticking out because nothing fit my big boobs and small back. But this really like was a revolution in my mind about how we could fix this. And it also was the pinnacle of me as a woman saying, I will no longer sacrifice comfort for beauty. And I was like, it does not have to be this uncomfortable. I don't want to come home every day and rip my bra and undies off, just because I'm wearing La Perla or Agent Provocateur, and I'd be like, oh God, get these off. But I love them. They're beautiful. But I was like, it doesn't have to be this uncomfortable. Just a little design and a little thought around what's touching your body and how it fits. Um, it creates massive change. And so that my aha moment was really around the idea that we don't have to sacrifice fit and comfort, and that there has to be a better way to make products durable. And all of this should be done without sacrificing fashion to it. And that was like, it hadn't come out of me yet. I was still at Victoria's Secret. And then I'm looking at all these manufacturers. They're bringing me these eco-friendly things. They're showing me how to digitally print and not waste any water. They're showing me how not to waste fabric or trims. And it's like all of this was kind of building in my mind. And that frustrating part of myself where I couldn't find the product. And I was like, there's so many women who want this. Like, I can bring this together. And that was really how I birthed over a long few years, We Are HAH. So, and it was really special because it was born of this place that was recognizing something that wasn't offered before. And still isn't necessarily offered. There's some startups that are dabbling in that area, but it's still an open space in the market.
Absolutely. Yeah, frustration is such a good place to start something new.
Right.
Yeah,
And
it's
the
such a driving force.
the fit technology, it's hard to get into over this call without like product representing it, but it really came up with some genius answers to this fit variability that a woman has even when she's not pregnant, just on a monthly basis,
Mhm.
just when she flies for 14 hours somewhere. It's like,
Right. No, absolutely.
how do you have something more versatile to your body's fit? And how do you put something like cotton always close to your body?
Hmm.
And nobody's really thinking like that in the industry. So it's still a wide open space. And
Absolutely. Well, you have to be a woman, first of all, to do
right,
that. It's like,
right.
what is it, the woman gaze now,
Yeah.
right? From the woman's perspective, yeah. Because it's impossible to know otherwise, all these variables
Right,
and uncomfortabilities, right?
right.
Unless you like feel
And
it.
it's not, it's the woman's has to design it, but the frustrating part of my last years of Victoria's Secret and the time that I spent at Guess was that in both of those instances, the marketing department was male.
Hmm.
And so we came up with a lot of businesses that made it to the front lines at Victoria's Secret, but they were photographed and positioned by men.
Hmm.
So they didn't always excel in their sales because they weren't positioned to the market that we were trying to serve.
Right.
So there was this tension between design and marketing where design was really solving, so like unlined bras or, no wire push up.
Hmm.
Then it was shot on a supermodel who was waif thin and like pushed up looked fake, shot in a position. It was like, no, we just want, that
Right.
airy kind of authentic, comfortable. So there was this tension that even though we could solve for needs in the market, the projection of the brand remained the same. And
Hmm.
many of those initiatives didn't make it to the thresholds they needed to meet from a sales perspective for them to continue. So that was
Exactly.
like the last piece of the puzzle when I was a guest that I was like, okay, I can't do this in corporate. I have to actually own the market positioning of it and speak to the customer that actually wants this and include her in it.
Yeah.
So,
Imagine if they listened.
right.
Back then they listened.
So many initiatives. I mean, it wasn't just me. The whole leadership team was always coming with these brilliant concepts for markets we weren't serving.
Hmm.
And it just, yeah, yeah, very frustrating.
Yeah.
But it led me to my, greatest risk ever and my pride and joy of my whole career, which was, starting my own brand and took me from, corporate C-suite to a founder and an entrepreneur in my living room. So it was kind of crazy, but um at least those things, took me to that edge where I was able to step away from corporate and really terrifyingly start something from scratch by myself.
Absolutely. Oh, I've been there. I started my own brand as well, and it was terrifying. So tell us a little bit more about that, about your brand.
I was a guest for about 18 months. I was chief design officer of Guess, and I was part of a leadership team that was brought in to kind of revolutionize the brand and bring it back to its heyday and roots. There were a lot of incredibly smart people that were hired alongside me, and I chipped away at rebuilding that brand. I had an incredible team. And all of us, me included, were let go within 18 months of our tenure there. So I found myself sitting in my empty living room because I had relocated my entire family from New York City to Los Angeles and had no time to even decorate the house because we'd gone from an apartment to a house. And anyway, it was an empty living room, and I was like, what are we going to do? I have my whole family uprooted, and we're on the West Coast, and I was devastated. I call it devastated. I was
Mm.
devastated. I had been fired for the first time in my life. And anyway, I got on a plane. I got on the phone. I called a bunch of my female friends around the world and women that I hadn't had time to really spend quality time with in years. And I got on a plane and I flew to see all of them. And I had a ton of miles. Obviously, I'd been working in corporate. So I just booked the ticket, got on the plane, told my husband, give me 2 weeks. And on the plane, I I designed the entire brand. It flew out of me. I
Mhm.
cannot even explain. It's like when you hear people like Taylor Swift talk about writing a song that just came through her, it's like it was that kind of thing. I drew the brand. I came up with the name, which was We Are HAH, which HAH stood for hot as hell, and it's hot as hell to be authentic and natural and good to Mother Earth. I think there's nothing sexier on the planet than caring about people and planet.
Mhm.
So it was this idea that we could blow your mind with beautiful lingerie and swim, and then you could receive it and it would be undeniably comfortable and so durable. And
Mhm.
then, by the way, it's also sustainably made.
Mhm.
So that was the whole, and I wanted that kind of shock factor of hot as hell because it made everybody laugh and it was unforgettable. And the ha was made everybody smile. And I drew the whole line plan. Like I came up with a fabric matrix and I had like slots for the bras, slots for the panties, and like I had the whole thing done. I bought the URL, went online, found that, and then I went to visit a manufacturer that I'd worked with for many years and at Victoria's Secret and kind of talked to her about the idea. And she was, I'm in. I'm in. I'll do the lingerie portion. And I called the factory in Sri Lanka that I had worked with for a decade and asked him if he would back the swimwear, meaning just work with me. And he said yes. And boom,
Mhm.
there were three girls who were also, sorry, women who were also let go that I had recruited to guess on my team, a designer, a stylist, and my head of operations at Guess. They had all been let go. So I called them. They came to my living room. They said, "We'll come on board," and boom, we were born. And it was just so special. Like I can't. The whole part of my journey was just so special and so pure, and we really got to work. And becoming a founder was such. Becoming a founder was kind of like becoming a parent, and I don't think when I say parent, I don't want to, I mean, everyone can be a parent of somebody who's not your child. You could be your parent's parent if you're taking care of them, but somebody that's responsible for someone's livelihood. It could be a pet, like really responsible. So that's the difference of going from corporate to founder is this level of deeply rooted accountability. And it made me even more empathetic to people on planet and more empathetic to my team. And it made me, in my opinion, a better leader, um, because of my accountability in all of those instances. And we had a blast. We created an incredible brand. You know, we really did. We created a brand that had sticking power. We were direct to consumer. We were wholesale. We sold at Selfridges, Free People, Revolve, Nordstrom's, and hundreds of specialty stores like in Ibiza and San Tropez and Miami. Like we launched at Miami Swim Week, and we were rated the number one runway show the first 2 years by WGSN, which was incredible.
Mm, wow.
And we had a very, very positive impact on the lives of the consumers that we touched on, as well as everybody that touched the product in the pipeline. So it was an incredible journey. It's something I'm really proud of, that we were able to deliver that fashionable product that was comfortable, durable, and what we called easy on Mother Earth.
Mm. That's a tremendous task. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it was
Like, tick all these boxes. It's
it was
unbelievable.
pretty epic, and
Hmm.
you know, it was an incredible journey. It lasted almost just under 9 years that we had the brand, and we really grew it to just under 5 million in net revenue. We were super close to break even. Um, and we had all of these consumers. We had like a 42% retention rate. I mean, our
Hmm.
customers like shop 3.5 times a year. It was like a very, very sticky brand, um, which, we were all really proud of and embedded in, but it was also a tough decade. I'll just summarize it as a decade based on our kind of timing and time to market. So we got hit by a few factors that we just couldn't reel back from as a startup. And, that was very difficult. And it took me, so we launched a brand in 2016, came to market, was fantastic. And in the Q4 holiday of 2017, so our second year in operations, our number one wholesale retailer filed bankruptcy. So Nasty Gal filed bankruptcy in Q4. They hadn't paid me for the holiday goods that I had shipped them, so I was out $200,000. We had over $600,000 on the boat at cost. And it was like that was the beginning of the like, oh my God, we lost $1 million worth of income in overnight. And it was insane. So it was things like that that just, and we corrected that, and then we had the pandemic, and then we corrected that, and then we had the retail kind of like shut down, or investors were no longer investing in CPG, and we had a lot of factors with getting cash flow, which shut down in 2022 and 23. So it was just crazy. But still looking back on it, I wouldn't change anything that I did around the brand. And if anything, I proved that six girls in my living room could do this, and that this could be applied in a corporate environment that is well funded, and that the impact that these products could have on the world is really positive. So, and I have the proof that we could do it. And so hopefully I can segue that into whatever the next part of my career is, which is bring that to a bigger and larger scale.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very brave decision. Eventually, you decided to dissolve the company, right?
Yes.
It's the
Yeah, and that was,
second bravest decision after starting it, launching a company. I feel like, but necessary. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and what followed?
yeah, that was the hardest business decision I've ever made, and I hope I never have to make one that difficult again. It was really like to build something like that from scratch and be so embedded in it, in your psyche and your day to day and your life, and to have fought for it for so long. We hit so many roadblocks and we overcame one after another. And I kept believing like we can do it again, we can do it again. But a couple of things were also coming at me at this point. The struggle of the business, the operations of the business. I was really far from my creative talents. I'm a high creative. I'm about design and marketing and positioning and storytelling. And I was just embedded in operations to a level of detail that would be mind blowing to any individual. So that was really like pulling at my heartstrings, like how kind of unhappy I was and how far I was from the part that I loved. Um, and I started to get this feeling that it was going to take me a really long time to have the impact that I desperately wanted to have. So going back to my feeling at Victoria's Secret and how impactful that brand is and how impactful a big brand is on people and planet. And I'm like, darn, this is going to take me years to even get to like 50 million in net revenue. And what I'm really desperate for is to get this out to humanity, this idea of buying environmentally sustainable products, transitioning your wardrobe. And this idea is so much bigger and could have world-changing effect. And I felt like I'm working really hard doing the things I really don't like. It's a struggle and I'm not making impact. So even my team, it was like we couldn't give raises, we couldn't, it was like, I'm kind of in the wrong battle. There's something, I'm kind of fighting the wrong battle right now. So that sadly went into the decision to shut down and dissolve the company. I mean, we tried everything. We tried everything to save it. I didn't go out without fighting and trying to merge and get acquired and get a, major investor, but none of them worked. And the decision was really heartbreaking. And once I got through the kind of 4 to 6 months of dissolving it, which no one who hasn't been through it really understands how long it takes and how much operation goes around dissolving it and how much follow-up and the closure and really stressful things. And that took about 6 months of busyness and then I was left kind of, oh my God, it's like I've had 25 years of this major identity behind me and this working 6 days a week, traveling, 6 months a year, birthing these ideas and getting pleasure out of the world, purchasing them. And I was like, oh, here I am. And super scary, like really scary to be all alone and recreating yourself, um, which kind of brought me back to my circle of primarily female friends. And again, coming out of it, talking to people about what I'm going to do next. But it was a rock bottom that was nothing like when I was fired from Guess. When I was fired from Guess, I really like revved up and came back. And within 3 months, I had started up a new brand. And this one was more like, okay, I don't have a new brand in me right now. I do have a lot in me, and like, where do I want to focus myself next? And being intentional about the lessons I've learned, because even with Ha, which was a beautiful thing, and I believed in the values and the team and the people, but it was still grinding me. It was still having a brand that never closes, that is busiest on holidays, that's, I mean, it never sleeps. You can't turn it off. So it was like, how do I evolve into the leader I want to be, continue in the industry I want to be in, and bring some values back to those institutions that balance the world, like back to people and planet. So it was quite a year of evolution, and I still have to say I'm like just coming out of it and still like probably have 20% of myself in reflection and the other 80% of myself moving forward. But it was quite an ending, I have to say.
Well, is it the ending? I don't know if it's the ending because now you added this experience, even though sometimes it was, good with the bad. Um, but who says who's good, what is bad? It's
Right.
it's impossible even to differentiate one from the other. And you add your all previous experience from the brands you worked for. So I think maybe it's not ending. Maybe it's something new is birthing, but it's so different.
Right.
So
Right. And there
different.
was this
Yeah.
epiphany I had when we were launching HA. And it was, I was at an impasse with myself on how we were going to launch this sustainable brand because I knew that we couldn't be perfect. You know, Intimates, all of us want Lycra in our product. You know, I mean, we don't want to be swimming in swimsuits without Lycra. We don't want to be wearing non-Lycra. So, I mean, just a fundamental issue like that means that there is an unsustainable fiber in your product. And I was having this whole kind of how struggle with how to market the brand, knowing that we would never be perfect. And I had an epiphany at a conscious capitalism event, which is an organization I was always a part of. And it was this idea of, okay, start somewhere. And
Brilliant.
it
Brilliant.
really like unleashed in me two kind of cornerstones. I was okay knowing that we were going to be in evolution because my dream was to develop how to be eventually circular, but it was going to be a lighter and lighter footprint along the way. And the second part of the epiphany was that I now had a way to talk to my customers that was authentic and bring them on the journey as opposed to trying to either block them out or only talk about the perfect parts. So from day one, we had this hashtag start somewhere, and we had communicated in our marketing because you know, um, we started in our poly bags were not always recycled; they became recycled. Our lace moved from not recycled to recycled. Our swimwear moved from regular packaging to biodegradable packaging, but all of these things happened and they took evolution. And we talked about that with our customers at every moment. We were like, yay, we got this far. And now we're going to do this. And
Mhm.
she really appreciated that conversation. And I took lots of emails. I would always check the customer service emails and often answer many of them myself, but where women were trying to get educated around it. And so this idea of start somewhere is really where my mind is right now. And later in our ha years, we started saying start somewhere with your underwear. And it's catchy and it really is a vision that I can't get out of my mind. And so underwear, let's just talk about cotton underwear, right? Cotton underwear is what I call a virgin category. So we're not going to borrow it or rent it or swap it right now, right? We're really going to be buying a virgin product time and time again. We wear it from birth to death. Organic cotton underwear, especially GOTS certified, is the absolute premier thing that you should be wearing as undies about 70% of your life. You should only work out in 100% organic cotton underwear. And this is like men and women. You should only sleep in 100% cotton or 98 to, something like that. And it's what should be closest to your body at all times. So if we could move the industry to just organic cotton underwear from birth to death, we could have the greatest climate impact on the planet. Think of it like organic milk. In the 1980s, not everybody was buying organic milk. It was at this Whole Foods place. It was very granola. Now it's at Walmart. You go into Walmart, there's a whole organic section.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing could happen for undies. And because you're transforming farmland to be organic farmland, your impact on the farmers, the land, those who live and are educated around that land, and then the people wearing it is so this is like I can't sleep because I think like if I could make one difference in the world, it'd be start somewhere with your underwear and move the undies industry globally to organic, God certified cotton undies. And we would be healthier, comfortable, and the planet would be better off. So I'm like, that's my dream. And I feel like I want to take it anywhere. I'm like, it doesn't matter if I worked with Jockey or H&M or Zara or Victoria's Secret or it or Calvin Klein. I just feel like this impact is monumental and we could just do that one thing because men, women, children, elders, everybody wears it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where my head is now. And I can't stop thinking about that. And it also helps people choose one thing, because this idea of changing your wardrobe to sustainable is absolutely impossible. And then there's a fraction of that that's waste because you're like, am I going to throw out my leather boots that I've had for 20 years because they're leather and
Mm-hmm.
replace them with plastic? So you have all these things in your head. You're like, what do I do? So this idea that just start with your underwear and just the cotton. So you don't have to change your style. We don't have to do anything except make an intentional change to that movement. And if we could get somebody to manufacture them at an attainable price point, so that masses of people could buy them, that's it. We could change the world.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Charlene. It was amazing conversation. Thank you for sharing your transformation and to be so honest about it. And I hope your dream will come true and you'll be able to make impact you are
Yes.
thinking about.
Thank you so
Um,
much. I appreciate the chance to be on here and speak with you and just even talking about my dream and amplifying that. I appreciate that offer.
yeah, and your new motto, start somewhere, is absolutely brilliant because I think we all suffer from perfectionism and it's very prevalent among creatives, designers. Let's make it perfect. But I think it's also stopping us from starting,
Yes.
and allows, all these things like procrastination, because, oh, it's not perfect yet. The cat can allow it. So I think you want to something very incredible.
Thank you.
So
Thank you. And I think if we all celebrated the small steps, that's the
yeah.
other thing I like about Start Somewhere is it's celebratory.
Hmm.
And instead of pointing a finger at what people are trying to do, we just celebrate each of us trying because if we all try, it will make a difference versus,
Absolutely.
procrastinating or not doing it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't agree more. And thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.